Welcome back to the Super Show. We've had our first hiccup, just one segment into the show. That's live TV for you, though. Lucas Lucero of Independence is not in the building quite yet. We were trying to get a hold of Lucas, and so we've skipped ahead. Bryan Nixon of Liberty was next, and we've kind of moved him up. So you barely had time to get in the building yourself before we have you on, but we appreciate you being here, Bryan.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Hi, buddy.
And this is, by the way, for those who don't know, the defending Division I Central Section champion coach right here. That has to sound pretty good to you.
It does sound good. It's pretty exciting.
And I know that's not why you coach. We've had a lot of conversations about that, but it's pretty nice to have that bonus as well. When you think back to last December and that championship, how soon – and I know you had to play Del Oro the next week, which is a really good football team, and they proved it, winning the state title. But how soon do you sort of allow yourself to enjoy that, and then maybe after the Del Oro game, and then how soon do you have to turn the corner and start thinking about this season?
Well, we had a phenomenal awards banquet afterwards, and after Del Oro, it kind of left a little sour taste in your mouth. But we got a chance to reflect and just have that wonderful evening, and we had it at the Petroleum Club, so it was really a special night, and that was kind of fun. And to see all the kids dressed up and their parents, and it was a great evening for our program and our coaches and our kids and our parents to celebrate that moment. So that was good. And then we took Christmas break, and when we came back, we were right back after it.
We never get to go to the Petroleum Club.
I have been once in my life.
I've never been.
Well,
they probably don't let my.
That says more about you than it does about the Petroleum Club. When you came back in January and you sort of had to leave that in the past, the guy who wasn't there immediately in January was Jordan Love.
Right.
And he's still the guy that I think everybody looks at your roster and says, okay, but there's no Jordan Love. You have a senior there, a veteran guy, Bryson Falconer, who's been in the program. Where is he at right now? How comfortable do you feel with him under center with the season 9 days away?
He's done a good job. He's put himself in a good position. He's starting to take some leadership and some ownership of the offense, and that's one of the things. He's a very quiet leader. He's not a very outspoken person, so he's done a nice job. And the one thing about him is he understands the offense. He's been in it, and he got to learn from Jordan a little bit. So, we have high expectations for him, and we look forward to it.
He's different, though. He's not going to be the dual threat, give you the look that Jordan Love did with his feet, and so I imagine that changes the way you call plays and things too.
Well, we'll change schematically to fit our personnel, and I think that's one of the biggest things with coaching is you have to be able to change to fit your personnel that's going to put them in the best position. So we've done a little bit of that, but, he can run as well, so we just won't run him near as much as we ran Jordan.
Yeah. Well, I think the nice part about that, too, is you have a bevy of running backs, too, to help him kind of solidify his feet as a quarterback, too, right?
Right. Well, that's probably if not the most depth we have on our team is running back and D-line. So those two positions are where we have a good opportunity to put some of those guys on the field to take some of the pressure away from our quarterback.
Right.
Yeah, elsewhere, thankfully, I think you have some guys returning. I know the offensive line is going to be young, but you like some of the sophomores you have there, and you bring guys back like Caleb Lahota and Lorenzo Hidalgo, who played a little bit there last year. And then on the outside, you got Johnny Balderas, which is kind of a nice little security blanket for a new quarterback, too.
Oh, definitely. There are some guys coming back with some experience, and that was a wonderful thing about last year. A lot of guys played, and they got some game time experience, and they're bringing that to our practices now, and they're kind of bringing those younger guys along and showing them how it's going to be and what they expect of our offensive line. So that's good. And on the receiving end, having Johnny there is always a threat. People have to know where he's at. So he's a phenomenal athlete.
He seemed to grow so much last year. I mean, he transferred from Shafter, and I don't know whether it was, and obviously his grandmother passed away in the summer, whether it was an emotional thing, just a young man learning to cope with that, or if it was learning to cope with Division I football, kind of all the above. But halfway through the season, a switch flipped with that guy, and he was an absolute star for you the last couple of months.
Definitely, and that was kind of fun to watch that progression of him coming and growing into that position and growing into a leader on our football team, and he's really that right now, which is really fun. He's had 3 phenomenal weeks, and he's been very vocal and good energy and just great on the football field as a teammate as well. So it's fun to watch him from where he first came in to the leadership role that he's taken now.
And at running back, I know you also lose a couple of real good guys. Actually, Quincy Jowney at the top of the list. But there you maybe have the cupboard stacked a little bit more. Cameron Meek transferred from Frontier. You have Zach Griffin back there who has a little experience. Tell us about the running back
Sammy
spot.
Stewart.
Grant Bice is another guy that carried the ball for us last year, and he's really had a good camp. And Sammy Stewart's come along. He's a sophomore, and he's going to get to tote the luggage a little bit with Griffin, who's they're all totally different. And that's the neat part about it is when you put those guys in, they bring something different to the table. We can also put those guys as slot receiver like we used Quincy his junior year, and it gets a chance to get those guys the ball in space. So those high percentage passes, getting the ball in the athlete's hands, letting them make plays.
Are those maybe the guys on offense you look at who not a lot of people know their names now, but they're going to be in the box scores a whole lot?
We're going to count on them a ton. And that's one of the things when they have athletes like that to get the ball in their hands. And yeah, they don't know it, but we're going to use them all over the place. And then, the guys are going to have to recognize, he's over here, he's in the backfield, or these two guys are in the backfield together. So that's going to be the one thing that we're adjusting offensively with is getting those guys the ball as much as possible.
Yeah.
Hey, Bryan, coming off of that section title, obviously totally different feeling for you. But for you, does it make it more special that you got a bunch of guys that are coming back, but you've also got a chance as a coaching staff to kind of come off of that title and really kind of maybe hone in on something completely new and totally different once again? Because a lot of times off of a championship season, you either lose everything or you bring back everything, but you're kind of in the middle where you bring back a lot of good pieces, but there's still like the offensive line, you've got to really kind of regroup. Running back, obviously you don't have Quincy back or Braxton back, but is it fun to kind of fit these pieces back together and work on this for so long and see really how it kind of goes together here next week?
That's the beauty of high school football is you get, ebbs and flows of things as they come along. But the one thing that stayed consistent in our program that I really enjoy is their attitude and their effort. These guys kind of expect that now. And that's the fun part is to watch these young guys come up and they expect to work hard. They expect to play 4 quarters of football like we preach every day. And it's been fun watching them grow during the off season and fall camp, and now they're getting to where they're starting to quit thinking as much and they're starting to play football and fly around, and that's the fun thing to watch is we have a good mix of the guys that are returning from last year and the guys that are coming up, and they're all kind of meshing and bringing each other up to another level.
Well, Trevor, I should have bet you that I could go 10 minutes without mentioning Curtis Brown's name in this interview.
No, actually,
Somehow
I
we
was
did.
thinking about that
we-
now that I was looking at the clock. We've been going 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and we haven't brought up.
And we've been talking offense, but if we switch over to the defense side of the ball, and obviously I think
he's going to be
pretty
playing a
clearly
lot of
the
offense
best
too,
returning
brother.
player in Kern County. I think everybody would agree at this point is your defensive end, Curtis Brown, who's just been a monster for 2 seasons now for you, and it just ramps up his senior year now that he's a leader and everything.
Right.
What do you expect from Curtis this year?
To be honest, everything. I mean,
Well, okay, I will say this before you start. When I came out to practice a couple weeks ago, scout team defense, guess who's playing corner?
Yeah.
Yeah. And knocked away a pass, by the way. A
Yes,
pretty
he
good
did.
pass. It wasn't like it was a bad
Well,
pass.
when I was out at 7-on-7 down at State Farm, guess who was going out there on a fly pattern, grabbing it with one hand?
Just stay healthy, Curtis. That's all that's all we ask. No, but Brian, seriously, we're gonna let you talk about him too.
okay. Yesterday he ran a corner route and caught a ball over his shoulder for a touchdown, which
Wow.
was pretty impressive in itself, being 285 pounds. But he's a phenomenal athlete, and that's one of the things he's going to draw a lot of attention. When you're watching film, Curtis is the first guy that's going to stand out when you're watching our defense. You either got to take your chances of running away from him and hoping he doesn't make the play on the backside, or trying to go at him and having 2 guys block him. So he's kind of taken that role and understands if 2 or 3 guys are on me, that means the other guys are going to be open to make plays, and he understands that part. But he also understands that he's a leader, and he's kind of taken that role and done a great job of putting himself in that position. And he understands that his shoulders have to be broad. He's going to have to carry a lot for us, and he's going to do that, and he's a good kid.
Yeah,
Brian,
you
you've
lose
been-
Kevin Frith on the other end, and I know you lose Chris Barnes, who is a superstar for you at linebackers at UCLA now. But the rest of the defense is not. You have a couple of guys in your secondary in Zach Griffin, who we mentioned at running back, and also Luke Fringer.
John Ames back there.
Yeah, Johnny Baldera. So defensively in the back 7, you got to feel pretty good too.
Yeah, we lost some key guys with Klugo and Braxton in that secondary, but bringing Luke back, bringing Johnny back. Grant Bice played a lot until he broke his ankle. He was in that outside backer safety position, so he has some depth there as well. So having those guys there that understand the concept of what we're trying to do helps bring those younger guys along and helps with the old concept of we got some returning guys that understand what our philosophy is.
When you look at Curtis, and you've obviously coached some fantastic athletes, Jordan being one. You go down the line, obviously Cody probably being the biggest one of them all. I think he just threw a touchdown for an NFL football team. Where does Curtis kind of land on that list of greats that you've coached over the years, just by his tenacity and his leadership as a high school football player?
Oh, he's got to be up there with all of them. I mean, you mentioned those guys, and to watch a kid that's 6'1.5", 6'2", 285 pounds move the way he moves. And I tell all the recruiters that come through that he's an old school football guy. He loves the game of football. He studies the game of football. He watches the 30 for 30s. He watches those types of things. And, you don't see that of a lot of kids anymore. He actually has a passion for the game of football, which makes it a lot of fun because that's something he really, really wants to do.
Right.
How much do you expect to see double and triple teams on that guy, and how do you plan for that with the other kids?
Well, like he said, if two guys are on me, that means one of our linebackers is free.
Right.
And he's kind of set them up. Hey, if two guys are on me, then you better come and fly up and make the play because we're taking two guys here, and that means you're unblocked. So the expectations for the guys that are lining up behind him, our linebackers should love it because that means they're going to be unblocked. So he's kind of let them know that, hey, they're going to be on me, so let's go. You go make plays.
I think since the SWIL was formed, the current formation of it in 2010, was it 2010? This may be the year we finally see every week is going to be. We say this every year, but I mean, it seems like every year somebody drops off, and maybe that will happen because of injuries or whatnot. But boy, you look up and down, and everybody kind of presents a unique challenge to you.
There's a lot of parity, and when you start looking at those types of things, and the coaches that are in our league, they do a phenomenal job preparation each week, and that's the fun part about playing in this is you got to front load your schedule because you have to prepare yourself for week in and week out battles. And I know you could probably look back on this show the last 2 or 3 years, and I probably said the same exact thing. But it's so true. It's one of those things that you have respect for every team you play, and you got to come out and bring your A game. And that's the one thing that is so much fun about this league.
And that's not to sneeze at your non-league schedule, which is incredibly difficult. Again, you open with Clovis West, who may be a Valley title contender themselves, and you then you've got Ridgeview, of course. We know what they can do, and Central, Buchanan, Cathedral Catholic, who's an absolute power down in San Diego. I mean, there is literally no week off in there.
Right.
Literally, there is a week off actually because you have a bye week. But other than when you're I shouldn't use the word literally, but when you are playing, I mean, it's going to be battle tested every single week.
Yeah, and that's that's kind of what we talk about. Is hey, we want to prepare ourselves to play great football at the end of the year. And if we get a false sense of security by not doing that in our preseason, then we haven't done our job as a staff, and we want to prepare our kids to be the best they can be. So if you want to be the best, you got to play the best, and you got to prepare the best you can. So that's kind of the fun part about our preseason. Some weeks aren't fun, I'll be honest with you. Just looking at last year, that wasn't a whole lot of fun, some of those things, but we learned a ton from it. And that's our job, is to learn about our football team and put ourselves in good positions at the end.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. I mean, you lost 3 games last year early. Of course, you'd like to go 14-0, but in some cases that helps you a little bit because it teaches you where you need to improve.
It definitely showed us our weaknesses and showed us some of the things that we really need to hone in on. And some of it was attitude, some of it was effort, some of it was some of those things that we kind of take for granted. And hopefully this year we can start and build some of those things, find our weaknesses early, and put things in place that we work on those and make them strengths.
Well, we're going to take a break here on the Super Show, and we're sort of rolling along with the live TV thing here. I don't know if we're going to have.
You want to come back and talk Maui for a little bit, buddy?
We'll be back. We may be back with Bryan for a segment. Garces AJ Gass is coming up. So is Paul Gola of the BHS Drillers, and we're also still waiting on Luke Sarah of Independence. So we will be back right after this on the Super Show. Welcome back to the Super Show. Trevor and Bryan have been talking about Maui and making me jealous during the break. I honeymoon in Costa Rica, though, by the way.
In Hana, which was cool. The homemade in Hana, which was really neat. Bryan and I think what, for the last 2 months leading up to this, you and I talked about Maui more than anything else in the world.
We're live now, so that means stop talking about Maui.
No.
Or I'll start talking about Costa Rica. Okay? No, seriously. Hey, I did want to hit, Bryan, with you. You have some sophomores coming up in key spots. One of them we know from track very well, Daniel Viveros.
Yeah.
You have a couple of other guys. We talk about the culture and how the older guys kind of pass that on to the younger guys. And maybe they don't even have to say anything. It's just soaked up. How much do these guys expect to sort of continue the level you've played at the last couple of years?
I think that helps with our guys we have returning with Zach and Luke and Johnny and Curtis. They kind of get those guys and say, hey, this is what we expect. This is how we work. This is how we practice. And so it's, like you said, we're trying to build that culture that That's kind of the expectation.
Right.
And I think they understand that. So there hasn't been a lot of talk about it from us as coaches. Our kids have kind of taken that role, which is kind of really where you want to be.
A Division I team has not repeated as section champion since 1993. I don't know if you wanted to know that or not.
It's nice to know.
Clovis West in 1993. Part of it is the cyclical nature of high school football.
Right.
Is there another reason why it's so difficult? Or is it just
No.
that you tend to lose good kids? I mean,
I think you just said it, the cyclical nature of high school football, the ebbs and flows of all that. And, we had a chance to do it, but we kind of lost the front end a couple years ago.
that's right.
So.
Yeah, that's true. If you had won the front end,
Well, and
you'd
if
be
you look
close,
at if you look at it too, when you look at Division I in the Central Section, it's different, I think, than any other section in the state. Is that in Division I, there's no private schools.
Right.
That it's all public schools. It's all gradual transition year in and year out, and I think that's what makes it so unique. Is that you don't have these reloading where you're going to get kids coming in all the time. You just kind of look around and be like, okay, what do we have now? And it makes it so much special, but it also makes it very unique when you guys can continually be so competitive year in and year out. And I think that kind of starts with, Bryan, you and I talked about it. We've got our big preview section coming out next Thursday, the day before the regular season starts. And we talked about, for you, what you've been able to do to this point is all predicated on the gentlemen that coached you and have helped you become the coach you are from your days of, as many don't know, you were a 23-year-old as the first head coach at Fraser Mountain.
Right.
In 1973, something like that.
Yeah,
95, I'm kidding. But, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, you've started all this, and you've gotten to this point because the guys that are still with you and the guys that have kind of led the way. You want to talk about some of those gentlemen right now? I mean, this is your platform. Talk about, who's helped you get to this point, Bryan.
Oh, your show's only a few minutes long left, so
Right.
but there's been a lot of people that have
Right.
been influences in my life, and you start at home with your father and mother, but they've always said that you have to have some great men in your life to build character in you and continue doing those things, and I was able to have that at Shafter with the late Jan Stubbe and continue on at Bakersfield College, and most people in our town understand who Carl Bowser and Dallas Greider and Dwayne Dameron and Harville Pollard are, because those guys are icons. And even Jerry Collis was around at that time. And they instilled a lot in you during that period of time when you're so young and pivotal to soak all that stuff in that you are able to look back upon those times and go, how would they have done it? How would those guys have done this, or how would they have handled that situation? And then you're able to go to now and call upon the Ned Permenters and the Chuck Chamberlains and the Steve Denmans and look at those guys and say, hey, how would you handle this situation, And I think you humble yourself enough to understand that we don't know it all, but those guys have been through a lot and they have had, trial tested. So you're able to go, hey, can you help me? And if you're willing to do that, I think you're always able to grow and learn from those situations. And I've just been blessed to have guys in my life that I could call upon and say, hey, can you help me?
And that's one of the cool things about Kern County. One thing you mentioned to me, too, is the importance of having that consistent staff. And Denman will tell you that, too. He's had Dennis Ruggles and Bill Carl, and I'm blanking on the third one, but he's had the same three assistant coaches for forever up there.
Yeah.
And you've had a lot of the same guys, too. Ryan Wren's been with you. Ryan Tucker's been with you. Phil Alvidre has been with you. I mean, it just seems like that helps a lot with the continuity and with making it not such a grind.
Oh, definitely. You gotta enjoy the people that you're around every day. And, we may have our differences in our film room when it comes to game planning and different things like that. But at the end of the day, we can walk away and we're friends and we understand we're all working for that common goal. And we all want to be where, at the end of the day, we're the best. But yet, we're still good friends off the field.
Right.
When you look at it, too, Jared Prosser, who was the head coach at Taft and is now an assistant at Stockdale. He was on that team at Fraser Mountain that you're with. He talks about you all the time. Ricky Ashita, a guy that you coached in high school, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and is now your head JV coach after leaving Shafter after last year. The guy took over for him at Shafter. Gerald Perucci is another one that says that he looks to you as a mentor in his life. I mean, when you look at all the gentlemen that have helped you get to this point, it's also very impressive to see all the gentlemen that have talked about you leading them to this point. So, you finally getting this Central Section title and kind of getting that monkey off your back and really kind of, this is the right platform for a gentleman like you, Bryan. And I congratulate you, and I'm very happy that you have this moment to relish in the last 9 months after that section championship.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor.
Yeah. It's the only nice thing I'm going to say about you now.
That was so cute. That was so cute.
Now repeat.
By the way,
okay.
Pat Snyder was the one I was
Yes.
missing. Dennis Ruggles, Bill Carl, Pat Snyder. Those are, I had to look that up.
Oh, you mean his athletic director?
Up in
Yes.
Tehachapi. So anyway, Bryan, if you could say one thing you're looking for in these first few weeks of the season to say, hey, we're going to be fine. Is there an area or an attitude or something you're looking for? Or do you maybe already know?
I think after Friday night, we're going to have a good idea of where we are and what we need to build on. And I know that probably doesn't answer your
You
question.
scrimmage
but
who Friday?
El
El
Diamante.
El Diamante, okay.
Yeah, and they're always a very solid football team and very well coached. So that's a great scrimmage for us to sit and evaluate and see film and make some of the changes. But I'm really pleased with our kids right now. We have great attitudes. They show up every day. They're ready to work, and it's just been a lot of fun. It's been a fun camp, and really look forward to seeing them compete.
Well, I'm glad we've been able to spend some extra time with you. I mean, things worked out that way, and we appreciate you joining us, and best of luck again this year.
Thank you very much, and I always appreciate you guys, and I can't say it enough. And our kids are so blessed, and our coaches and our community is so blessed to have two guys that really genuinely care about the kids. And congratulations on getting married and your honeymoon
Thanks, buddy.
stuff. But I mean, you guys are awesome, and I really appreciate you.
You guys, but I'll say this too. You guys make our job very easy because it's a joy to be out there with every single one of you guys, whether it's football, volleyball, golf, track and field, swimming, water polo, I don't care, wrestling, basketball. It's a joy to be here in Kern County, and that's a testament to this community.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, enough of that. Enough of that. Trevor's tearing up over there.
You were at my wedding. You
I
know
know
how easy
that's what I'm
it is.
saying. I know you're tearing up.
I was
over
a
there.
crying little baby the whole time.
All right. We got AJ Gassigarsis in the house. He's up next. We're going to keep rolling with the SWYL. Thanks to Bryan Nixon and to all these coaches for showing up, and we will be right back on the Super Show.